All right, all y'all. I'm super excited to be with all you guys tonight. Just excited to be a part of this experience with you. Also excited for you to learn with us tonight. So I'm Dr. Brett Brimhall. I live in the Phoenix area. And tonight, a topic that's near and dear to, I know, me. It's actually how I got into this company known as LifeVantage. And I want to kind of have you think of a couple of things. So for those of you who are on tonight and you, like, I want you to think about some names. Like, when I think about what we're going to talk about tonight, I think about people. I think about little kids and families that have children that were diagnosed with autism. And I've worked with them for over 25 plus years now, actually probably longer than that. And at the end of the day, I think about kids that I knew years ago. I wish I could work with them now with the knowledge and the experience that I have now to be able to help us see more of them. I think of kids with names like Luke and Nicole, and many, many others, Braden, the people that I've known for years, and what could be their possibilities. And at the end of the day, as a dad, I want my children to be safe. That's the first thing. And then I want them to know that they're loved and for them to be successful in life. I think that's really the top thing. And so what you're going to hear tonight is two very experienced people from a little different space that have worked a lot in that area to try to help kids and their own to be that safe and secure and have given them options. So excited for you to be with us here tonight as we kind of go through this experience. So with that said, I'm going to actually kind of start off here a little bit, introduce Christine to you first, and then I'll introduce Eileen a little bit, and we'll kind of bounce back and forth. Christine's background as an occupational therapist. She's been doing this for a couple decades, and she's not just an occupational, even that's phenomenal. She spent her life like living outside the box, trying to look at other solutions to help individuals that she'd worked with to be able to express more fully, which led her to us being a group here at LifeVantage. So Christine, I'd love for you to kind of hop in here and set the stage for us a little bit. I'll get some feedback there. And just kind of talk about your background. And we kind of talked about earlier, like, what are some of the things you wish that parents would know early on that would help them to know options for them? Because what I want you guys to do is think of this, that we're not just think of brain health, not mental illness. Think of like brain health and how it manifests and what it looks like in individuals, because we want to focus on solutions that improve our brains. So the things you're going to learn about tonight can be applied across the board to anybody that has a brain. They could help them have more full functioning. And so, Christine, can't wait for you to take it away, please.
Okay, thank you everybody for having me here tonight. I'm just super grateful that I can share from my heart. I am very passionate about working with children with special needs. I've been an occupational therapist for 26 years. I just kind of fell in love with pediatrics right out of college, and that was my sailing ship. And my specialty is in sensory integration or sensory processing disorders, which can also come along with a child that has autism. So for me, I always was a traditional therapist until I started to realize when I was doing my own healing that, wow, there are a lot of other modalities out there, and there's different approaches that we can use outside of just therapy to enhance, the skill set or the performance of a child with autism's brain, their bodily function. So I just started to navigate that, learning a lot for myself. And then I said, wow, this can be really applied to children that I know. I am in the schools now for my full-time job, but I also work in clinics. I do a lot of evaluation. So I see these children literally from when they're first diagnosed, and I work all the way up until adulthood. And parents are at very different levels, some are just still accepting the diagnosis. Some are looking for these alternative approaches and really, want something outside of just therapy. Therapy meaning OT, PT, speech, respite care, rehabilitation. And then some are just very comfortable with where they're at. And we always have to meet people where they're at, right? So for me, what I do now that I've kind of branched out and I said, let me broaden my scope of practice, is one important thing to do is I teach parents or even the respite care providers on nutrition, a nutritional approach. Children with autism have high levels of inflammation in their brain and in their gut. So nutrition, there's a saying, we are what we eat, there's this, it's true. So if we're putting inflammatory foods into the body, I kind of go over with the parents, what is your child eating? Now, this is a difficult part because most children with autism are on a white diet. Like they like the chicken nuggets, the French fries, maybe the white yogurts, the pastas. But if we can pull out dyes, if we can pull out inflammatory foods, dairy, gluten, wheat, that's one thing that I share with them, that, it's baby steps in everything that we do, because big changes could bring on more behaviors or shut the child down. I also talk about detox with my parents. Let's talk about how we can get them on a detox program. And this is, of course, if parents are open to this, you have to, again, meet them where they're at. A detox program from parasites, those heavy metals, we have the heavy metal toxicity in the body. So I talk to them about, where are you at with wanting to go down that road? And then I usually bring in my other practitioner friends that I know who actually can bring them through the detox. I don't personally do that. I also teach them about, neurofeedback. How can we help with that brain function? How can we help with getting the brainwave patterns into a better place during the day? Because they go up, there's different brain patterns that go up and down, and specifically ones that we need to help them get into to go to sleep. And then a simple thing that I have parents do is, let's look at their sleep hygiene. What are they doing an hour before they go to sleep? Nowadays we're in this very, very fast-paced world, and we give them the tablet, or we're just letting them watch TV. I really kind of bring that to their attention, and I really talk to them about how that stimulation of the iPad is impacting on their brain and the neurological system, and to help them get into a sleep hygiene, meaning a routine, an hour before bed. What are we doing? What aromatherapy in our bathtub, lavender lotion to our body if they're accepting of that. Bringing in music, it's called binaural beats, working on, bringing those brain waves down into that sleep brain wave that we want, lowering the lights, maybe a heavy weighted blanket for them. So those are the couple of things for sleep hygiene. And then the next big piece, and this is what I'm very passionate about, and it kind of all came around full circle, is I teach them about oxidative stress, because it is known in the studies that children with autism have high oxidative stress, high inflammation. They have very lower levels of glutathione, which is a molecule that we need for prevention and disease control, and a lot of functions in our body, and also to keep down that inflammation in the body. So for me, I came into learning about what our activators are, and I started to realize, wow, what we have on our hands decreases oxidative stress. It increases cellular energy, and then it also allows our cells to communicate. And then there's a specific brain food that we're able to incorporate that opens up a person's brain, optimization, brain potential. So I started to realize, I said, wow, this is the piece, this is the foundation that we need. We need to be able to, I felt very passionate about it, to share with families, because for me, it was an answer to help them, right? It was an answer to help them. Now, whether they're open to it or not, that is up to them. But I had to present the information to them that we have particular activators that can lay the ground floor, the foundation for everything else to build off of, because the changes that happen once these activators are in the body, again, just even lowering that oxidative stress and that inflammation in the brain, a child is going to function better. We're all going to function better, right? So it was that piece. So I look at it as like, the piece, the autism puzzle sign, and I look at it as we are the puzzle piece. We're on that little island, and it's like you connect that puzzle piece into that entire puzzle, of the sign of autism, and it's the link. It is one of the missing pieces that we absolutely need to share. And I'm hugely passionate about it. And if anybody has any questions, just let me know, and we'll go into Eileen's story, because she has an amazing testimonial with her daughter and what took place over the years of her getting activated.
Christine, I love the way you made that very specific, but also simple in the fact of like, we got to look at diet, like we've got to look at detox, we got to look at like the right practitioners or people to help us through that process, that looking at their sleep hygiene, and then addressing those things that we can add in that would help us address the systems of the body that are struggling, like reducing oxidative stress, improving mitochondrial function, giving the brain the nutrients that it needs. And we'll kind of highlight that at the end. But thank you so much for like helping us like pinpoint those particular things. And so if you're one of those individuals that are working with your children, like, are you addressing those things? And if you are, great. If you're not, that's the next step. Because the effects of what you're doing is cumulative in not only what you do individually, but what you do collectively. And so to start with where you're at and move like forward. So thank you for that. It's awesome. So Eileen has become a really good friend of mine over the years, and she's kind of raised me. I joke around because she's been a client of mine for so long, since 2003. I started practicing in 2001, if that gives you a little perspective. And I remember working with her and her daughter, and I'm just excited for you to hear the perspective of a parent. No matter how much I think I know or what I experience, I don't live with a child that goes through this sensory processing struggles and stuff. And so for her, I think I'm grateful to be able to hear your experience, and for you to share the things that you wish you would have known much sooner, and what that journeys look like, so that we can help paint a picture for it. Because I don't know very many people that have done as much as you have, for your health and for your daughter's health, and found things that worked really well and some that didn't help hardly at all. And so, please take the floor. I know I think a phenomenal teacher as well. So she's going to take control of the screen, because she's got some fun visuals to show with us.
All right. Hey, thank you, Brett, and thank you, Christine. I love everything you've said, because if I had found a practitioner like you to begin with, mixed with Dr. Brett, I know that we would have just, anyway, we did a lot of good things. But let me go back a little bit. Hi, everyone. I'm Eileen. I'm here in Arizona. I have 3 children, and my youngest child has been diagnosed autistic. And here's our family when she was younger, and here's our family just a few years ago. But you really can't see autism in the person. It's not until you start talking to them or you start interacting with them that it's like, oh, there's something different. And so what I want to share with you is the journey that I had, because I didn't even know what autism was when she was born 25 years ago. And it was quite a process. So let's see if I can get my screen to switch. So I want you guys to have hope, because I really thought, based on my experience of after 10 years into the process, that she has this diagnosis of autism and there's a cap to her possibilities. And everyone around me showed that that's as far as their autistic child went. And what I know now, we're in 2023, we have a rover on Mars. We know how to help the body. We know how to help the body be optimal. And that is so exciting, because the ceilings that my daughter has broken, I dreamed they would be true, but I just didn't believe it. I have to be honest. So I want to also share with you resources and tools that you can use to be successful. Just take a screenshot of this. I'm not going to read it, but if I could turn back the clock, there's so many things I would want to share with you. And so if you ever want to have a conversation, I am so open to it, because I have passions about education, medical, and I just want to have people know to cut out the journey, to make it shorter. Instead of taking a scooter from California to Florida, I want you to take the rocket ship. I want you to be there fast. And I've really done the groundwork of that. And a lot of these things are universal and it's not just person specific. So there were some beliefs I had to overcome. For example, I thought it was my job to have her fit into society. I was wrong. The more I tried to push her to be neurotypical or fit into other people's pictures of what they were, it just created stress in the family dynamic. And I didn't like the way I behaved. And I realized my job as her mom is to empower her, to build her a self-esteem that is so strong she can stand up for herself, self-confidence, learn how to communicate, learn how to be safe, and how to regulate her sensitivities. If I can do that, I can prepare her for adulthood, whether it's on, and it has to be her timeline. And I'll give you, I have a ton of examples, but just a really quick one off the top of my head. You know, when you're 5, they say you should tie your shoes. Well, that wasn't a possibility for us. It was very frustrating. I went to Velcro. It was awesome. I have to admit. 8 years old, she sits on the steps of our stairs and she says, "Mom, how do I tie my shoe?" I showed it to her. She did it a couple times. She'd been tying her shoe ever since. Her timeline was age 8. It was a perfect timeline for her. Please hear that, parents, because the pushing that I did, trying to make her fit into the standards or the averages, was being disrespectful for her and her processes and her development. So anyway, I could go on about that, but I'm not going to. So if you guys have ever watched Friends and you remember this scene, pivot. I had really 4 pivotal moments in my journey with Nicole. One was in 2nd grade. I was yelling at her over a piece of paper, and I'll explain that. The autism doctor I was seeing said, "If you aren't going to take my advice and medications, don't come back." I did a Dr. Amen brain scan and her saying, "Mom, I didn't feel like running." And if I could just take you through that really quick. So she came home from 2nd grade. She had a worksheet similar to this, and she counts on her fingers. And so she does 1 + 2. She decides it's 3. She goes on. We get down here. She doesn't remember 2 + 1. So she counts it on her fingers again. We get down another line. She doesn't remember what is going on. I literally, you guys, and I'm embarrassed to say this, I was yelling at my child over a piece of homework. I was very, very ill at the time. And my only thought, I stopped myself and I said, if I were to die tomorrow, what is my child going to remember? A fun, amazing mom, or a mom who helped her get her homework done? I called the school the next day and I said, for us, this was what our journey was. She will give you 10 minutes of homework a night. We will devote 10 minutes. Whatever we get done, that's going to be good. I let go of the A's. I let go of that stigma in my mind of what your child was supposed to be able to do, and to show my child was what fits into the patterns. You know what I'm saying? And so that was huge for me in the educational system. I am an elementary school teacher. It was very frustrating for me. I learned I had to go on her timeline, and 10 minutes of homework was what was perfect for her. Another quick story on education, finding the right school. I know parents who are trying to change their teacher to like their kid. They're trying to change this or that. Your child's self-esteem is not worth the time and effort you're going to get in trying to get that adult to work with your child. Find a school and an adult who will work with your child, and friends that they can have. So I can go off on a lot of tangents. So this is the doctor telling me hit the road, which I did. This is Dr. Amen. If you haven't heard of him, he does brain scans. In 2010, she was 13. I took her to him. This is a neurotypical brain scan here on the left. So your brain really isn't blue, red, and white. It's just for explanation purposes. So basically your brain is calm, except for the back part, which is your thinking and processing center. Red is high activity, white is the highest activity. When she is resting, this is her brain. When she's concentrating, whoosh, this is my daughter. This helped me be a better mom. Now, I will tell you, he recommended his supplements. We went on them. We did them religiously. I saw baby step improvements, and it was expensive, you guys. It was $350 a month for those alone, on top of everything else I was doing for her. And the results were minimal, but I kept doing them. So my last statement I told you was, she said, Mom, I don't feel like running. So she is 17 years old in high school. It's December. We started the activators in November of 2014. And guess who shows up? Santa Claus. She comes home and tells me Santa Claus came to the pep rally. Now, if you know my daughter, she is terrified of Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, and all of those characters. She has to be not out of the room, but out of the building. And she came home and told me that Santa Claus had come to the pep rally. And I said, and my heart sank. And I was like, because I am a helicopter mom, I'll admit it. I want to protect my child from her meltdowns. And she goes, but Mom, I didn't feel like running. And I went, what? Mom, I didn't feel like running. And we had only been on the activators for like 2 or 3 weeks at the most at that point. I had never in my life had results like that. So she was taking about 32 supplements a day. They took an hour in the morning and an hour at night for these baby steps. We started activating. The results were exponential and the cost was just a fraction. So Brett, I have a couple more things to share, but I don't know if you want to jump in here or whether you just want me to keep
We're on a
going.
roll, and then we'll tie it all together.
Oh, you're sweet. Thank you. Okay, I have a couple more things I want to share with you guys. So get your screenshots ready because here we go.
I love that Eileen. She's always got visuals.
So these on the left are some of the therapies I've done with Nicole. The most effective therapies have been chiropractic and activation, and aqua stretch also. And then the neurological personal trainer we're doing now. These are what I would say is the best practices. Christine was beautiful and touched on the environmental cleanup, the food allergies, all of that kind of stuff. Like I said, take a screenshot there. And then when I also work with autistic children with my piano teaching. And when I asked my students, what would you want everyone to know? And one of my students said, I want people to know I'm a person. And my daughter said, I don't want people to talk down to me. And because you know this like I do, our kids are so incredibly smart. They're just segmented and they're where they are. And she goes, I know what people are saying to me. Do they think I'm dumb? And it's like, no, they just don't understand how to work with you and how to just treat you like a person. So I tried to narrow it down to my top 3, you guys. 1, you are in the driver's seat, parents. You do what you feel is best for your child and your family. Do not let fear and scare and guilt put you into a therapy or a situation you are not 100% bored on. Number 2 is activation. That is a game changer. We've been doing it 8 years. So here's the exciting part. My daughter is actually going to an autistic college next month. And yes, it makes me very happy and sad at the same time because she's going to another state, but she's prepared. She has the capabilities, and this is something I truly wanted for her, but never believed was possible. And it was really consistency on the activation that has made the difference. And then third, like Christine totally topped on environment, her school, her home, her air, her food, her water. Less is more. Your kids will tell you everything you need to know if you can hear them. So anyway, I could expand all day, but I'm going to stop there and thank you for letting me share because I'm so excited for people to have hope and know that there are things that they can proactively do to make a difference in your quality of life today.
You're amazing. So I think a couple of things you maybe want to tie up at the end. I'm going to kind of recap some things and then just think if there's some things you want last minute you want to share. So I want to give you just a little perspective on this, what you're hearing us talk about when this term activation. And I would say I know Eileen's daughter probably better than any other autistic family I've worked with. I've worked with them since 2003. So that gives you a little perspective. Her daughter's 23. So I think she was probably 3 or 4 at the time I started working with her. And so I've watched her body, and typically the younger the person is, the better results you're going to get the quickest, because that's when our brain's active, it's learning. So keep in mind, like, we didn't start using activation with her daughter until end of 2014, right? So she was already at that time, now she's 23. So whatever that would be, like,
She's actually 17. So she was 17 at the time. She's 25 now.
25 now. Sorry, 25.
Yeah.
I think still there's 25. So you guys, so just what I want you to have is perspective. So I love the way you both have laid it out. Like, here's what we've got to do to reduce the toxicities in their environment, teach them the right tools and strategies to be successful, and empower the parents and the individual. All right. But one of the key things is an understanding of what's possible, because if you don't think anything's possible, you're not going to do anything. So we are on a mission to give people tools and resources that they didn't know exist. So I was doing everything that I knew with her daughter. That was at 32 supplements a day. And we found things called activators. So there are nutritional products designed to turn on gene switches. Christine mentioned oxidative stress. So think of it as rusting of cells that they're breaking down. So there are key switches that are in the body that controls inflammation, that control energy production, right? And we call that NRF1 and NRF2. That's the name of them. So there's specific products we use to actually turn those switches on. And then brain food, right? And that's the liquid drink that's called Axio. Now, as you remove the toxicities, you do the right therapy. There's no substitute for exercise. Just like in my opinion, there's no substitutes for good PTs and OTs. Like, you need good physical work and brain training, neurofeedback, biofeedback, binaural beats, all these things. That's the exercise to brain. It's critical that we have that, right? But you have to have the systems and cells working to get optimized. So for me, it's a game changer when you can use what we call Proton NRF2, Proton NRF1, the Axio, and the other things that activate the body's ability to do and learn like it's supposed to. Like, I love that picture Eileen showed of the math sheet, because she could figure out the number was 3, but she had to relearn it. She had to re-go through her systems, relearn the process. So when you can get the brain to learn and then it connects, it learns faster. So it's not like Groundhog Day. So just know, if you haven't applied activation to your own personal self, let alone individuals in this neurodiversity space, they are not as good as they can be. But then one thing Eileen mentioned in there, and I think Christine mentioned too, is consistency is king. So because her daughter has been doing this 8 years, she's progressed to a point over this period of time where we feel comfortable, and I say we, because I feel like I've known her so long, where it's time, as hard as it is for Eileen to see her daughter go to that next phase, it's time for her to then go to the next level of progression, which is to challenge her. So if you're unhappy with the stagnation in your personal life and how your health is, or your child is, these are some solutions that I know, if applied long enough, will make an improvement. I can promise you it won't do anything if you don't do it. Like, that's with cleaning up your environment, to working with good therapists, to physicians, to taking activators. And so please, like, whatever you need to do your homework to decide, do that, and then make consistent changes forward, because at the end of the day, we need to give the tools and the resources, and we got to do the work to help ourselves and others get to where they can. So Christine, any last minute thoughts? And I appreciate, number one, your heart, your desire to serve. Any last minute thing that popped in your head, like, I really want to share this, because I love how you outlined for us the different therapies and those things for us. But any last things you'd love to share with us?
Excuse me, I really just encourage families that, to give them hope, that there are possibilities. There's a lot out there that many people don't know about. So, if anything, get back to the people who invited you on this call. You can connect with us. We're here to help you navigate some avenues that might be a little fearful, because you might be just in this place where you don't know what you don't know, so we're here for you. We have this community of love and hope and integrity and inspiration. And, so that's what I would have to say.
Thank you so much. You're awesome. And the work you do with kids, like, thank you.
Yeah. And, so I was thinking too, that really, we just have to get the word out of a lot of the modalities and different techniques that are out there, and especially with activation, because I didn't say this in the beginning, but I started in 1997. My caseload was 10%. They called it pervasive developmental delay then. I've hardly ever heard the word autism. My caseload now is up to 90% that I treat who have autism. So autism and ADHD is just hugely prevalent with the astronomical things, as we all know, that are going on in this world. So we have to be the light. We have to be the ones who help with that education and, really get the word out there, and support those that we love.
Thank you so much. Any last minute thoughts? I know you do.
Yeah, you know that. One more, Eileen. So I also have a nephew who is now 4 years old, and his mom, when he was 18 months old, discovered autism and started down this path. And luckily she was able to learn from me, but she started him on activation at 18 months. And she gave him the Axio drink, and she sent me the picture. She goes, "Oh my gosh, he's sitting on the couch looking at a book." And he is level 3 autism, and his functioning, his communication skills are amazing. He has such a bright future. And so anyway, yes, start young, like Dr. B says.
Eileen, Christine, thank you so very much. And for all of you that hopped on this call with us, I want you to know there were over 245 people at one point in time. What that tells me is there's a huge need out there in the world for this, and many, many people will wait years to find out what you now know. So please help be a part of that solution and pass this information along to others, because I would love to have all kids that struggle with neurodiversity or not to know about what we now know about and start impacting their life much earlier. And we're going to have a very different experience. They'll have a very different experience. So we love you guys. Thank you again, Christine and Eileen. You guys are amazing. And look forward to next Wednesday Wellness, and we'll see you guys later.
Thanks for watching. And remember, one change can have an enormous effect. Remember to subscribe, hit the bell and the like, and we'll see you next time on Love to Live.